What's up, you guys? Welcome to Frisian Sports. And if you guys aren't familiar with what this is, basically this is the sports division of Frisian Network. And this is going to be a weekly sports show where we talk about some top topics in sports as well as possibly some things related to sports that aren't trending topics, but stuff that we just want to talk about. So, without further ado, I guess we can introduce ourselves. My name is well, I guess you can just call me Living 510. We'll just go with that. And not giving my name out there, bro. And then I'm joined with Miles Dawkins 24/7. If you want to say who you are, man, real fast before we get into stuff, what you do.
Man, I do football and football gaming, talk football, eat football, and I'm talking about American football. I do got love though for my soccer heads, and I'm enjoying the World Cup, but I'm more of a American football guy, football head, if you will.
He's that black guy from Hey Arnold.
Yeah, exactly, like Gerald. You know what I'm saying?
All right, Henry, man, do you want to introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, my name's Henry. Of course, if you play Xbox, then you'll find me as Toxic and Orange 3. What I do is I like watching sports as well as baseball is probably my biggest one. Soccer and basketball is followed. And then as well as I'm actually part of the Frisian Network as well too, working as their more the financial and the legal part of the company. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing with that, and as well as hope we have a good discussion today.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. So if you guys get out of line, he's gonna sue you. All right. Steal this video or whatever. He's the guy that's gonna sue you. But anyway, so let's jump into topics. We got lots to talk about today. The first thing we're gonna talk about is obviously the World Cup. I was crying today. It's a great day for American soccer. And then we're also gonna touch a little bit on the NBA draft. Kind of possibly talk about specific players, but mostly I think we're probably gonna talk about it very broadly. And but again, like one thing that you should know about the show is we have specific topics, but a lot of times we tend to diverge off track. So feel free to comment below and let us know if you have something that you want us to talk about. We will be more than happy to oblige. Then we're gonna talk about no hitters in baseball. Obviously, Tim Lincecum got a no hitter. What was it, yesterday or something like that?
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that and how, well, we have some things to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about the captains. Our captains for the Home Run Derby, a good thing. Basically, it's just kind of like an all-star team, I guess you could say. Is there favoritism in there? Is the Home Run Derby really that interesting? Is it needed? We're going to talk about that and kind of all of the all-star festivities of the baseball thing. All right, but let's start with the World Cup. So obviously we can start with the United States. The United States lost today, but they advanced on goal differential to the knockout stages. It's amazing to me that this happened. I didn't have a doubt in my mind that they would advance, and it's a great day for American soccer. You know, this is and the fact that they were able to do it when so many eyes are on them. And when people who didn't really follow the sport were watching soccer, hopefully now more people will get involved in it, more people will start to watch it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of excited for the MLS season, Just going to throw it out there. All right, but what did you guys think about the USA game today?
I see where you're coming from, Living, but at the end of the day, they lost. So you can't get excited.
Man.
You can't get excited over a loss. Yes, they're moving on. They had that great game against Ghana. They had probably one of the most exciting games versus Portugal. Ended up tying that game. And then they lost today versus Germany. You know what I mean? And Germany is going to be the type of quality opponent that they're going to have to face in the knockout stages. And if they move on in the knockout rounds and in the knockout portion of the World Cup, then I think that's something to get excited for. But speaking about the MLS, it's not the same thing. You know what I mean? If you've really been watching the United States play, Dempsey is the only one that really has skill on the national level. So if you watch the MLS, you're probably gonna be a little disappointed of the quality, of talent out there. But at the end of the day, I'm excited for the United States. They did get farther than what I thought. I didn't think that they was gonna get out of the group stages, but kudos to them. They played phenomenal versus Ghana. Again, they had a Portugal game, and they did enough to move on. You know what I mean? And like you said, it was the goal differential that got them through, and congratulations to them. Does it make me more of a soccer fan? No. Call me again, for the Euro Cup.
Oh, wow. Harsh words from Docky. All right, sir. Henry, what do you think about it, man?
Well, I thought it was great from a soccer fan perspective. I mean, just because of even though they did lose, it was only by 1 to a German powerhouse, which like Dawkins was saying, they destroyed Portugal. Germany did, and then as well as Ghana had a good showing against them, and we had beaten Ghana, who the team was always our nemesis for the past 2 World Cups, and but being able to win and focus on that first game and being able to get that was the biggest key to the United States progressing out of the group. And as well as with that, they had the most travel time out of everybody to all the different stadiums that they had to go to for their games, as well as on top of that, the game before Germany, they played in Manaus, which has been one of the hardest stadiums to play at because of the weather conditions there, and the odds weren't against them after playing pretty much any team besides even Germany to win the next game after playing in Manaus, because the records have showed that all the teams that had played in Manaus, the games afterwards, they were 3 losses, 1 tie. So out of that, so I mean it's really difficult, especially with not only if you're dealing with the dry heat, but as well as humidity and everything like that, and traveling over about 30,000 miles or so, something like that, or travel-wise. And so it's just, you got to tip their hats to them. There were instances that they need to polish up. I mean, they weren't the prettiest games, but they were the hard-fought American-style, grinded-out type games, and that's what you like to see if you're a United States fan, is to see that type of heart from the players to keep on pushing forward. So that gives you kind of a good opportunity to see where they could go, because now I don't know if I'll probably go a little bit off topic, but with the Belgium game that they played right after, they didn't look too impressive, and they already lost one of their players to a red card, and so Belgium, they were in a softer group, and they did win all their 3 games, but they only won it by 1 goal to softer teams compared to what the United States was playing in their group. So yeah, this is something that, I mean, yes, they did lose, and for the casual fan, losing and progressing is something that they don't understand yet. But again, with any round robin tournament, all it is just trying to get through your group and then moving on to the knockout rounds where anything can happen. So that's pretty much, I just got to continue to tip my hat to Jurgen Klinsmann for him making some pretty good decisions, even though a lot of the naysayers were wanting, especially the fallout with Landon Donovan and everything like that, but to put all that behind them and to focus on what they needed to do, and to have that kind of game against Germany, even though they lost, it was only a 1 goal game. So
yeah, it was exciting, like I said, to see us advance. But Dawkins, you brought up a great point. The fact is that they lost, and I think that a lot of red flags are flying right now. Belgium, like you mentioned, Henry, they didn't look that impressive, but the United States hasn't really looked that impressive the whole tournament. And you can say that they played pretty well against Ghana, but Portugal, I mean, Portugal was a beaten team anyways, basically. So we capitalized on that. We didn't look good against Germany, and even if you look at the friendlies before that we played, I mean, we kind of beat up on pretty mediocre teams, except for Nigeria. which is surprising because Nigeria is doing amazing right now. But like for example, going forward, it's and we can talk about this too a little bit. Is I don't know if we have the midfield presence that we thought we'd have from Bradley to go forward because with us, especially with Josie Altidore out and Dempsey being the only one up front, we need to possess the ball. We need to possess the ball because Dempsey, these long passes, he's going to get winded. You know, he's going to get winded. He's going to get tired, and we don't have anyone else to put out there. I mean, obviously they're not playing Wondolowski for some crazy reason. I don't know why that is. It's a serious problem. Would I say you bench Bradley and possibly move Dempsey back? Yes, that's what I would do. But again, I'm not in charge, and at the same time, that's a hard decision. Like because Bradley has been an amazing player for us. But at the same time, if you look at his track record against good teams, you know, he's not the best. But what do you guys think? Are there any red flags for the U.S. going forward?
I think I gotta be right back. Hang on, y'all. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Okay, then I'll go. Pretty much, I think.
What was that?
Man, pretty much, yeah, there are some red flags. I mean, everywhere. I mean, now when you bring in Omar Gonzalez in for the game against Germany, what does that do confidence-wise to Jeff Cameron, who was starting in the first 2 games and everything like that? So that's like a big factor because we need to continue to have a cohesive defensive team. Bringing in Beasler there on the left side with Beasley, that just was not working out. You could see in the German game just because Beasler doesn't have enough talent, I don't think, to go against oppositions like Germany, and so that left wide open with DeMarcus Beasley trying to play that whole left side by himself, and he did a good job. I mean, that's pretty much what it was pretty much Beasley controlling that whole left side himself in that Germany game. So you got to commend him on that, and he actually did like a few good runs himself, like through the German defense. He just couldn't get anything going at the end there in the German final third. But anyways, besides that, I still kind of see like the offense. If Josie isn't able to get back for the knockout round, I mean, they do need to put in an extra striker for those goal poaching opportunities because we've had quite a lot of crosses in our games that we played. And so if we can have a goal poacher to consistently be in there, one of those crosses are going to end up as a goal by one of our goal poachers. So,
do you think Wondolowski should start up there with Dempsey?
I think so. Just a little bit over Aaron Johansson, just because Wando will play defense as well too. He'll put in a little bit more defensive effort than Johansson. So that's why I think that he would be a better fit to start than Johansson, and then bring Johansson in off the bench for Wando. If Wando's not able to get anything going or effective, then you can bring Johansson in later in the game.
What about that DeAndre Yedlin guy? Would you put him over Beasley? Because as you mentioned, Beasley is kind of the weak link over there. You know, I mean, we've seen it throughout the whole World Cup. It's like he's not really playing defense very well. I mean, most of the crosses are coming in from his side. You know, so would you put someone else in there, or would you keep him out there because he got pretty good pace, or what do you think we should do?
I would keep him out there for the pace-wise because there's going to be strong teams with like midfielders that are going to be just really speedy, fast, and everything like that. For example, like Germany. I mean, like Belgium does with Hazard, as well as the other teams like with the Di Maria, like Argentina, because that's the group we're going to, or like that's the group that Germany's in, and so, or oh no, that's the group. Wait, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that's the group Germany's in, because they got that little break there. But anyways, Yeah, just because we would need him for that pace, and then bring in Yedlin as I would say as a wing player, so then he can help Beasley with that. Otherwise, um, yeah, I'd keep Beasley in there because we don't really have an alternative on that left side, anyways, to really match up with anybody.
True. That's true. Okay. Lastly, before we jump into talking about the games that are coming up in the next round here in the 16, this is something that I want your opinion on, man. Because, okay, Jeff Cameron didn't do very well. We can agree on that. But does he deserve to get benched? I mean, Gonzalez played well, but you still like. But Cameron is a pretty good defender, man, and especially going up against these teams that have a lot of offensive powers. Don't you think that we should have Cameron in there?
Yeah, I kind of have a suspicion that I don't think it was more or less that it was because Cameron had a good first game against Ghana. He just didn't have a good game against Portugal. But I mean, I think more or less I have a suspicion the reason why he didn't really play this game against Germany and that Gonzalez did was because of the height of Germany. Germany is such a bigger, taller team, and Gonzalez is that big, tall 6'5" player that we have, one of our pretty much our tallest player. And so, for him to be in the back there to be able to use his length to thwart like Mario Götze there. Mueller there a few times, and as well as heading out those crosses from Boateng that they were doing. I mean, he was there to do that, and because otherwise we'd just be run over, especially like on corners from like Hummels, who's been really good for Germany on those set piece corners and everything like that. So that's pretty much I have a feeling that he was in there for that game as I guess you could say a strategy standpoint rather than rather than like a playing style, but strategy.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, sounds good. Let's preview the next round a little bit. I mean, we don't have to go into every single match, but I guess just looking at some of the ones that are kind of interesting, Brazil and Chile. Do you think Chile's going to pull an upset in this one?
They can. I mean, although they did have a lapse in their game against the Netherlands. But, I mean, they do have that possibility. I mean, they had to get out of that group with them as well as Spain was in that group too. So, I mean, like they had to work. But, I mean, because of that work too, that's kind of like the same kind of position standpoint from the United States perspective too, because they were both strong groups. But at the same time, though, Chile is facing against Brazil at home, and so all the pressure is going to continue to be on Brazil and their star Neymar. So, I mean, Chile has the potential to have that upset because of the way that they've been playing. But again, they would have to make sure that they go in with nothing to lose, whereas continue to build that pressure as the game continues. With Brazil, like if they were to continue with a tie, then that just builds more momentum with Chile than it would be for Brazil because of the pressure.
Yeah. All right. Looking at, I mean, I agree with you. I definitely do. I mean, Brazil, like you said, I mean, I like how Chile plays. I like the style of like kind of skill move is mixed in with like young pace. You know, I really like that out of them. So they could possibly pull an upset, but at the end of the day, man, I mean, Brazil, they are a very, very good team. So I just don't.
Well, you got to attack their wings, especially like Brazil's with Dani Alves. He's not playing any defense at all. So if Chile can exploit those wings more, then I think that would help them a lot to try to be able to have that chance to progress over Brazil. Because Brazil's defense, I mean, hasn't been fully like up to scruff in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. All right, quickly, let's Colombia and Uruguay. Uruguay obviously is. I think they're going to be playing without Suarez, right? So that ban effect immediately. Yeah, cool. Do you think that they have a shot, man? We've seen them play without Suarez, and they didn't really.
Yeah, but they did play without him, but they only were able to muster a penalty kick. I mean, that's something that it's a heavy burden for Cavani because he's going to be the main central point now. He's their go-to person, and he's making a lot of money at PSG. So I mean, to have him struggle this badly, like for Uruguay, it's just pretty much almost unacceptable. It's like how you would see Messi when he was struggling in previous World Cups because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously know more about Cavani than I do, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems like he's not doing anything out there, man. And
No.
it's kind of surprising.
I
All
mean,
right.
he's playing good defense for them, but I mean, as a striker, I mean, he's gotta put goals in the net.
Exactly. All right. So who do you got? Do you think Colombia is going to be Uruguay then?
I think so. I mean, especially because Colombia's got a lot of good stars, and they got Cuadrado there on the right side. I mean, he's gonna he is so fast to those.
Whew.
Like all the games, like his technique and his speed combined is just crazy.
Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Docky. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Sorry about that, y'all.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So while we're on this, before I move on with the other games, you guys, let's talk about this suspension, man. What is it? 4 months?
Yep, 4 months and the rest
4
of the
months.
tournament.
Yep.
And a fine. I can't remember the fine.
Yeah, but he's gonna miss some Barclays Premier League games, and he's going to also miss some Champions League games. Do you guys agree with this suspension, and this fine, or do you guys think that they should just kick him out of the game?
We talking
I
about
agree with
Suarez?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't think he should get kicked out of the game. You know what I mean? I like the suspension. I think it's a fair suspension. Again, I don't know enough about soccer to say if this is like a actually fair suspension. From the outside looking in, though, I think it's pretty fair. The fact that he's going to miss some of his league games, the fact that he is going to get fined, I'm okay with that. I think if he does it again, though, then he has to get kicked out of the league. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be going around biting people, you little vampire. Like seriously, like what the heck was he doing?
Tox, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair enough at this point. I mean, because people didn't know about his biting. A lot of people didn't know about his biting situation until they saw him actually do it in this World Cup, and then people were looking it up, seeing that he did it previously twice, and so this was his third offense. And of course, that's one of the stupidest things that he could do, especially when his team just scored like literally like a few minutes after that, and for him to do that and hurt the country of Uruguay as a team and as a country to pull that stunt is just ridiculous. But I mean, going back to the punishment that he's been handed, I think it's fair enough for at this point. It's a heavy games that he is going to miss, and of course he should be able to reflect from that because of that, and as well as because of the important Champions League games that he'll miss, and as well as being this if Uruguay gets knocked out immediately in this next game, he's going to get the scoring a lot more from a lot of the Uruguayans. Yeah, pretty much he's gonna. I think it's fair enough, but yeah, like what Dawkins saying, like if he does that again, I mean, he's already got 3 strikes at this point for one more, and then I think he should be pretty much banned.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What you guys said. The fact, I mean, there's 2 sides to look at this. One side of me is saying, okay, so the suspension is justified. You know, that this is a good way to lay down the law. But part of me is like, even though I didn't know about these other offenses, obviously I knew about the other one in the Premier League where he bit that guy. But I didn't know about the other ones. But the fact remains that FIFA must know about these. And the fact that they're just taking an action now is very, very alarming to me, because they should have already taken action in his previous offenses, and maybe they did. I think they did, but they should have been stricter. You know, this is like his 3rd or 4th offense, so that's a little bit alarming. But it just goes back to the whole thing that conspiracy theorists are cooking up, where FIFA's only interested in the money, and they only want their stars out there. That kind of feeds fuel to that fire. But if he does it again, definite ban from the game just because there's just no need for it, and it's just like because FIFA and soccer already get criticized for flopping and for being babies and all this other stuff. We don't need any other negative.
That's true, and I just want to touch on the point that you just made. And FIFA, it's overseas. Nobody really considers the MLS to be real soccer. You know what I mean? So it's overseas, and it's kind of their own way of thinking, their own way of life, so to speak. You know what I mean? Kind of like with hockey, kind of like with baseball, how like there's unwritten rules, like, the PATAR telling the pitcher to do it better, to hide it better and stuff like that. It's like it's an unwritten rule. Like if you're going to use it, be discreet with it. If you look at hockey, a lot of people don't like to fight in hockey. Some people do. A lot of people in Canada and over in countries where hockey's popular, they enjoy the fighting. They think that fighting is part of the game. While you have some, people that, get turned off by the fighting in hockey. And I use that just to make the point is, some leagues and some, I guess cultures or they feel like that's their game. They don't have to change to please anybody else. Where you look at the NFL, and the NFL, they were worried about losing fans because of that, because it's so big now, because you have kids that want to play, Pop Warner, and the mom might be like, no, football might be too violent, I don't want you to do those things. And it's like the NFL is actually trying to make their game even bigger by protecting the players, by having their stars out there. So I definitely see where you're coming from, but I think it's like the old way of thinking, like this is their game. They're not trying to bring in anybody new. They could care less about what Americans think about the subject and stuff like that. So I totally agree with you, but I think that it's, kind of just tied down in their way of thinking, kind of like hockey and kind of like baseball, so to speak.
Yeah, but going back to that though too, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's an unwritten rule, because biting in general is
I'm not I'm just saying that, because I mean, if that happened over here in like an MLS game, Twitter would be going crazy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The unwritten rule for soccer is pulling on the jerseys. That's pretty much
the
most unwritten rules.
But I think the point that I'm trying to make is, you using football with the concussions, you have people that might not know anything about football but be like, oh my gosh, it's too violent, yada yada yada. And the football will be like, okay, well, we want this person to be a fan, so we're gonna change it. With Suarez, I'm saying that maybe they didn't feel like they had to come down heavy on him the first time he bit somebody or the second time he bit somebody, because maybe overseas there wasn't that big of an uproar. But now that Americans seen it for the first time, it's like, oh, he can't be biting people, and now they have to make, a bigger, I guess, punishment for him, because now it's worldwide, because now everybody has seen him do it, and it wasn't just people who love soccer that seen him do
it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on, guys. Let's talk about Sunday's game, Costa Rica and Greece. Who do you guys got quickly so we can move on?
I got Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Campbell going on.
CONCACAF representing.
Brother.
My brother.
Netherlands and Mexico. Who do you guys got?
Netherlands.
Yeah, Netherlands is playing good right now.
I'm going with the upset. I'm going with Mexico just because. Okay, and then Monday we got France and Nigeria. Who you guys got?
I got France.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, France.
Germany and Algeria.
Germany.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, Germany. Are we still live?
Yeah, sorry guys. Argentina and Switzerland.
I like Argentina.
Switzerland's good though.
Yeah,
Switzerland is good, but I just saw them get blown out, so I was like.
Yeah, but Switzerland, they did win their last game and everything like that too. And I mean, the way Argentina has been playing, their game hasn't really been that pretty either. So I mean, they do have their weaknesses, Argentina. I mean, having Messi, I mean, yeah, they won. He won with him scoring like the final goals, but they've only won their games by one goal. And as well as, how can you have? I mean, it comes down with chemistry a lot too, going down to that, because how can you have Aguero up top and Higuain and them not really scoring any goals when they're one of the premier players in Europe right now, and to have them on the national stage on a powerhouse Argentina team, which you would think that they would be able to score quite a few goals, but to only be able to win against these teams by one goal, It's just, I mean, that gives the opportunity for other teams to have that chance to exploit their vulnerabilities on defense and everything like that. So.
Ooh, I like where your head's at, man. You made a great point. Messi is a great player, but you can't rely on just Messi, and so they're going to need production from the other players. Okay, lastly, Belgium and the United States.
Belgium.
You are a terrorist.
I'm going for the upset.
He said I'm a terrorist.
I'm going, obviously, for the United States.
Yeah, the United States.
United States all the way. All right, guys. So that's our World Cup recap. It wasn't really a recap. It was more just talking about whatever really we want to talk about in the World Cup. So definitely leave comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the different topics that we talked about. Now we're going to move on to the NBA draft. And I'm going to start this off by saying, and I think that all of us can concur with this.
We can concur with what?
Concurring with what? Frozen
losing. I think we might have lost.
When the draft is going on.
Wow. What?
Froze there.
How long was I gone?
You're going for a good 10, 15 seconds. Last thing you said was like we can all like agree on something or whatever.
Yeah, we all could concur.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, whatever. Okay. So yeah. So let's move on to the NBA draft. And before we went live, we said that who the F cares about the NBA draft. And so, with that being said, let's talk about that. Are any of these players going to make that much of an impact on any team? And let's throw Milwaukee out of here, because Milwaukee, I mean, freaking Grandma Jones would make an impact on that team. So, is there anyone else that you guys see going to a team, filling a void, and that team automatically becoming a contender?
Only team that I could see that happening with is the Cavs. Because, one, the Cavs play in the East. It's not a good division. It's not a good conference. We all know that.
Stop bashing the East.
Hmm?
Stop bashing the East, my friend.
I'm not bashing the East. It's a fact. You know what I mean? It's a fact. The East is not that good. So I think that the Cavs, you know, if they guess right on Wiggins or on Parker, I think that will be easier for them because they already have Kyrie Irving. You know, Bennett hopefully can turn it around after having a bad rookie season. You still have Thompson, who is still young. I think people kind of see what type of player he's going to be. But I think for the Cavs, if we're looking at the top three people that have picks, I think the Cavs have probably the best shot to turn things around. The 76ers, I could see them taking the big man from Kansas. He's hurt. You know, I don't think that they would mind him sitting out a year and then bringing him back next year. But that's the biggest issue with the NBA draft is it's hard to see somebody going to a team, fitting in, and then that team, you know, being a contender. You know, with the Packers, they need a running back to draft Eddie Lacy. Boom. They're all of a sudden they're a much better team. They actually win some games without Aaron Rodgers. In basketball, it's not the same thing. It's a totally different type of beast. But if I had to pick, I would say the Cavs.
Yeah, if you don't see like a clear player like that is on the level or par as a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, or even like Kobe Bryant coming up, or Kevin Garnett. I mean, when they got drafted, it's more or less now to a point where you have your already established stars and everything like that, and using the draft to complement them through that draft. So your main star players on each team, and then using that, such as one of the main topics that's been going around is Miami needing a point guard and everything like that. If they can get the big three back together, and one of the draft topics was Shabazz Napier from Connecticut. He's played all 4 years for them, and as well as ended the season with the championship national title. So I mean, he's got skills that can come in immediately if they were to be able to get him in the draft. Other than that, I mean, it's more or less. I mean, if you don't see like a marquee franchise player like that can take over a whole team like a LeBron James can or something like that, then it's just it doesn't show the strength of the NBA draft system as a whole, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think it's been broken for a while.
Yeah, it has. And another thing I think that some people may be talking about, I don't know, I haven't heard it yet, is Dawkins, you mentioned this. The NBA draft is trying so hard to be like the NFL draft, and it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because, like we've all been saying, those players aren't ready yet. Like, I can't think of one guy that has, I know it's going to sound really Skip Baylessy, but like that basketball body. You know, like we see everyone, and again, I don't see anyone that's going to get physical with anyone out there in the league right now. And it's just like we say, okay, so you guys have to beef up. You guys got to get a little bit bigger. You guys got to get a little bit quicker. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. Well, if they have all these things that they need to do, then why are they getting paid so much money? And it's like, why do we even care? Like, let's look back at them in a couple years, you know? I mean, but having said that, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of a lot of great players coming out of the draft. Melo, Wade, Anthony, Bosh, all those guys, you know. So
that's true.
There are.
I mean, that's true, but those guys are different.
They are different, and also, Dawkins, like you mentioned before we went live today, a lot of these players may not even see the floor this year, you know. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's not really the same. It's, in the NFL draft, if you're drafting the first round, you're getting media attention. People are following you on Twitter. People are doing all this stuff. People are saying you're the savior, Manziel. So, you know, it's like a whole different monster. So I think that the NBA really needs to start to realize that they're not the NFL, and maybe they should look at their D leagues, because there's a ton of people in their D leagues that probably deserve opportunities. Like Sendiata Gaines a couple years ago, you know, he should have been in the league earlier. So, you know, there are players out there that deserve a shot, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because not too many people talking about the guys overseas right now, like when Ricky Rubio got drafted. You know, what I mean, not too many people knew of him. You know what I mean? And there's gonna be a lot of people like that who we have never heard of, and the team wants us to get hyped, and then you realize that person, you know, is still under contract in Europe for 2 years, so we won't see him until like 2016. So it's like I just think the system's a little bit broken. I don't think it needs to be as hyped up as it is. It doesn't have to be on ESPN. It could be on like ESPN2 or something like that.
ESPN Classic.
Yeah, something like that. Or ESPN News or ESPNU. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you know, I'm excited to see people's dreams, you know, be fulfilled. These kids have wanted to play in the NBA their whole lives, but it just doesn't get me excited because, you know, again, in other sports, you can see, oh, well, yeah, we get this guy, then our team is instantly going to get better, and basketball is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Let us know down below, guys, what do you think about the NFL draft? Do you think that it's kind of lost?
It's NBA, though.
Yeah, what?
You said NFL draft, so I just wanted to take a correction.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I got to just have football on the brain. All right. So we're gonna end today, and this has actually been a pretty efficient show, which is kind of cool for the first time ever. Besides this being late. Okay, so we're gonna end talking about baseball, and we're gonna talk about. Let's start with the no hitters. Tim Lincecum has thrown no hitters in his career, both against the same team, the Padres. He threw a new hitter a couple days ago. Clayton Kershaw threw a new hitter last week. We talked about this a little bit last week on the show toward the end of it, but are no-hitters starting to get a little bit stale? But hey, you know what's weird? And I don't know if you guys noticed this, and maybe you guys did. They showed Lincecum's no-hitter on ESPN. Like, they had that live looking on ESPN. So maybe
it's during Baseball Tonight?
It wasn't on Baseball Night. It was on ESPN. It was on SportsCenter.
Okay.
So
is that a sign that it's getting more popular?
I think that's a sign that he's a name and people know who he is.
But because people know who Kershaw is.
They didn't.
Well, giving a little respect to the Giants since they've already won. They've won 2 World Series in the past 4 years, and so I mean they got another chance to do that this year again in an off year. So I think that's part of it too, is that they're having a good season, and so they're kind of giving some respect to the Giants organization as a whole.
what was on when Kershaw did his thing? What was on ESPN? Was it SportsCenter or was it something else?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, then I think that's the biggest thing because again, I believe the Giants. Well, yeah, the game was in California, so it had a late start. It wasn't going to be over until like 10 o'clock out here. You know what I mean? So maybe they were just, maybe they already talked about everything else. Because to me, again, him doing it is great. It's kind of like what I said with Kershaw. Even though what Kershaw did was phenomenal, history making, type of stuff. Lincecum, to me, it just reminded me of the conversation that we had last week, and it's like, wow, now he did it. And isn't he like the fourth-day starter, or maybe even the fifth-day starter now? It's like, to me, it's still great. It's just it doesn't have the same magnitude that it once did. You know what I mean? And the fact that ESPN was showing it, that's cool. But I bet you if ESPN had something better to show, they would have.
Like Johnny Manziel practicing in the Browns uniform?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to say that football is so much better. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying going off of what ESPN's been the past couple of years. If it was a Johnny Manziel story breaking, they probably would have went to that instead of Lincecum's no hitter.
Yeah, but again, though, too, I think it was the matchup. I mean, if you wouldn't feel as stale if they did it against a higher quality team instead of like a Royals team or like
yeah. That's my jam.
or Royals team or a Padres team or anything like that. I mean, because if Lincecum were to do that against the Dodgers, I mean, right after Kershaw did it against the Giants, say back to back, for example, hypothetically, that wouldn't be stale at all because you'd see like two amazing games back to back against two rival teams that always are against each other, or even if they weren't even a rival team. But a big name organization such as if they were going to go up against Detroit or if they were going to go up against as the Red Sox or even the Yankees or anything like that. Just seeing those happen. I mean, it more or less comes down to, I think, the team as well. Like what if they're playing against an inferior team, it might feel kind of a little bit stale. Like you could see that coming, but I mean, if it was against like a really good, high-quality team, like that's up there in their division or everything like that, I don't think it would make people feel as stale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, I'm gonna say this. I love baseball, man. I do. I love it. But I don't care about his no-hitter. And it's just because I've seen it so many times before, and it's like if Lincecum could throw a no-hitter, then anyone could throw a no-hitter, man. And that's
what it's coming down to.
It's coming down to that, and it's losing its weight. And we mentioned this last week. It's like who really like like you said, Dawkins. Kershaw's feat was spectacular, history making. Okay, I'm not taking anything away from that. But Lincecum has been struggling year after year after year for the last 2 years, and now he throws a no-hitter. And I think what's really important now is that the sports fans, and especially the baseball fans now, have to remember his history. So that when our kids look back, or when future generations look back and talk about Tim Lincecum and say, wow, this guy was one of the best pitchers to ever play. Look, he threw 2 no-hitters. And he won a Cy Young and all this stuff. We have to sit back and we have to be like, well, actually, he had 3 terrible years in between those, And so again, it's sad that baseball is so focused on stats that probably he will go down as one of the best pitchers of all time. So that is kind of what's frustrating me right now. But, we'll see what happens. So,
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right, leave comments down below, guys. Let me know what you think about the no-hitter from Tim Lincecum. Do you think that the no-hitter is losing its weight at all? I mean, perfect games are still pretty cool, Those are still cool. But it's just a matter of time before those get there. Okay, so let's talk about the All-Star Game, guys. It's coming up very, very quickly. And the Home Run Derby probably it's literally just people hitting home runs. Against like a pitching coach throwing meatballs, but hey, whatever, home run derby. So what they did, what they're doing this year, like they did the last couple years, is they are naming captains, and the captains decide who they want to put on their team. I think it's vote based. I'm not exactly sure. So what do you guys think about the home run derby? Do you guys like it? Girls dig the long ball, or do you guys think that it's just another way for ESPN to make money from people watching that shit?
Well, of course, it's a way for ESPN to make money, but I think people enjoy it. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't have the same flair as Mark McGwire at Fenway Park. Back in the day, it doesn't have the same flair as Ken Griffey Jr. I believe at Coors Field with the hat backwards and stuff like that. Or maybe that was in Baltimore. But at the end of the day, it doesn't have the same flair. Like watching Ken Griffey turn the hat backwards and just hitting the ball, deep. Mark McGwire going for like 19 home runs in one round. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the same flair. And I think. I think back then people really cared about bragging rights. I think people wanted to beat the other person and say, you know what, you might have more home runs than me in the season, but, let's go toe-to-toe right here, right now. And I feel like it's not the same competitiveness that it once was. You know what I mean? I feel like the dunk contest in the NBA used to be competitive. Now it's like, okay, I'm not going to try and embarrass myself out here. You know what I mean? And when Robinson Cano, hit 0 home runs, it's like, really, it's like, you cannot care. Like if you are that good and you don't hit any home runs in the home run derby, then you don't care. The fact that they have captains doesn't make it any more interesting because back in the day they had no captains and I was drawn to it. I watched every single home run derby up and probably until I graduated high school. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, baseball to me is just losing its luster. You know what I mean? It's just losing it. I think it's too gimmicky. The All-Star game wasn't broken. The All-Star game wasn't broken, but now you have it determined who has home field advantage for each league. And it's like, to me, it wasn't necessary because baseball had it good. Baseball had one of the only All-Star games where it looks like the actual game. You know what I mean? NBA, they play defense hard, in the regular season and the playoffs, but in the All-Star game, there's no defense. Pro Bowl, there's no hitting. Hockey, there's like no checking, no fighting. Baseball had it where like it looked like a real game and you have the best players in the league going toe-to-toe. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's too gimmicky for me nowadays.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dawkins on that one too. I mean, at the same time, there's a lot of players that have been in the home run derby throughout the history of the home run derby. Like after the All-Star break, they've struggled to have any kind of sort of power when hitting the ball for the first month they get back and everything like that. So it kind of offsets their timing because the pitching's different when they're getting the ball to hit a home run and everything like that. And so it kind of messes up their mechanics in a way. And baseball is all about mechanics. And having that consistency with that, and so with that, if you're there at the stadium and it's great. I mean, because you're there in person to see the game, and even on TV, it's cool to see like a long ball from time to time. But I mean, it's not something a lot of people, especially the casual fans, would sit down to watch it on TV or anything. I mean, but if they were to see it personally, they would. But again, like what Dawkins was saying, it is still getting kind of gimmicky. It's kind of like similar, I would say, to like the skills game in the NBA. I mean, it's kind of like that, where the skills game, there's not as much flair, what Dawkins was saying, and as well as they're just going through the motions, and now or later, you don't see that competition as much through that head-to-head system, and as well as just that. If they were to bring that competition back in, as well as just having like the, I guess you could say, I don't know, maybe more, I guess a higher reward for the winner or something like that than just like a trophy, then that would kind of like a higher incentive or something. I think it would make it more easily enjoyable for not only for the fans but as well as the players, because then they'd be having something more to play for, to hit more home runs. But otherwise, yes, it has been losing its lackluster over the years with the amount of minimal home runs being hit and the minimal competition, and as well as just the overall aspect of enjoyability of the home run derby itself.
Yeah,
totally agree.
as a baseball fan, I don't know if I really have that desire to watch it. A couple years ago, I did. And last year I was interested because Yoenis Cespedes was there, and I
Yes,
really
sir.
felt like he brought a little bit of swag back to the game. You know, he had his hat backwards, and I was like, okay, Griff, you know, it looked real nice. It looked real nice, and the fact that he won was awesome. But Dawkins, you hit the nail right on the head, man. Like, there's no competitive nature there. No one really, like, no players going in there saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to jack, like, 50 and win. You know? No one's doing that. And it could be because a lot of, in the past, people that have hit a lot of home runs in the home run derby have kind of dropped off in the later half of the season. So maybe they're a little bit worried, they're kind of scared that may happen to them. But what I think that should happen, and this is something that I think they should do in the NBA as well, is like, the fans should vote on who they want to go, and they should have to go, you know? Because the fact that LeBron James hasn't competed in a dunk contest is ludicrous, you know? I mean, every great dunker has. And, it just goes back to what a little wussy he is, that he's afraid to lose. But, like, you know, if you look at the home run hitters today, I would love to see the best home run hitters just go at it, you know? I have no inclination to see freaking Justin Morneau or whoever who has like 5 home runs on the season. And I know he doesn't have that, but like I know, like, you know what I mean? Like these people that they may choose are at the end of the day just friends of friends, and the fans won't really care. Like, how many people actually cared that Cespedes was in there? Now people want him there. But how many people were like, oh yes, Yoenis Cespedes in here? A lot of people were like, wow, Yoenis Cespedes, the guy is hitting 240 and, like, you know, 15 home runs. Like, why is he even here? You know, he's taking the place of somebody like Chris Davis or whatever. So, again, it's kind of like that whole thing. So I would like to see, you know, the best go at it. I don't think they'll ever get to see that again, just because of the history, like I mentioned before, of players' production dropping off in the later half of the season. So it's unfortunate, but.
Like get a minor league pitcher to throw pitches like a live simulation.
Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. Like, you have like 10 outs, but actual outs, so you could strike out against a minor league pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so embarrassing for some people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think people get too embarrassed over that.
But we'd love it as fans, though.
Yeah, give more competition to it.
All right, guys. Well, those are all of our topics. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I encourage everyone to, if you are just joining us, or if you're joining us halfway through, or if you didn't, definitely watch the other parts of this show. Once this is done processing, it'll upload. Remember to subscribe to Frisian Sports. We will be here every Thursday, 5:30 Central Time, 3:30 Pacific Time, and 6:30 Eastern Time. But we will end the show, as we do every week, by doing a minute to preach it. So, who wants to start off this stuff here?
I'll start it off.
Alrighty.
That's what I
Let
do.
me know whenever you're ready.
I believe that I am ready.
All right, man. Go ahead.
Man, don't start me off. You can't do that. You can't say, all right, man. Gotta say, like, ready, go.
Okay. 5, 4,
Appreciate it.
3, 2,
All right, man. So,
1.
you a-hole.
Go.
Look at you. Right.
All right.
All right, yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, man. Over the past couple of weeks, the NFL Network has been doing Decades Week. And, of course, I'm a 49er fan, so throughout the 80s and 90s weeks, it has been heavy on the 49ers and, of course, of other teams. One thing that I have noticed, looking back of the decades, dynasties throughout the decades and stuff like that, you had the Packers of the 60s, the Steelers of the 70s, the 80s were the Niners, 90s Cowboys, 2000s were the Patriots. I feel like the Niners are the only team that kind of gets left out of their own decade, because when you think of 80s football, you might think of the 85 Bears. You might think of Dan Marino breaking all those records. You might think of other teams outside of the San Francisco 49ers, and to me that's sad because it's one of the best franchises ever. We had the greatest receiver of all time, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. We had the first running back ever to have 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing in the same season, Roger Craig. We had probably the hardest hitting safety outside of Sean Taylor to ever walk the God's green earth, and Ronnie Lott. So my San Francisco 49ers, I feel like they need a little bit more respect, man.
You talking about Kevin Barlow, that running back?
No, I'm talking about Roger Craig, dog. Don't talk about Kevin Barlow. Don't bring him up. Don't mention his name around me.
Nice. Tox, do you want to go or do you want me to go? I don't care.
I can go.
All right. Let me know whenever you're ready, man. And then I'll start.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna for today. I'll talk about I guess the speculations on the off seasons for my team, the Warriors. So we're going to do that. The situation that we're having with Kevin Love, the impasse with wanting to give up Thompson for him in a deal with David Lee and a draft pick. But it's really difficult to say. I mean, we do need somebody up there, sort of like say down in the front court. If Bogut gets hurt and everything like that, we would need somebody extra down there. But at the same time, though, we could go an alternate route and get a Channing Frye, who's in the free agent, and then bring in as well as possibly one of the big free agents, such as the LeBron James or something like that, is out there. There's still those possibilities, those things that are being talked about. So there's still a lot of out there. I would say try to keep Thompson.
Ooh, interesting.
Eat the splash, brother.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, you guys. So the NBA draft has started, and I don't know how to turn off that stupid NBA game time notifications. It always gets me. All right. All right, here we go, guys. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about, obviously, the World Cup, one of the biggest tournaments in sports. I'm going to be talking about players and their mindsets to represent their country with dignity and with honor and with pride. When you look at the United States, you see a bunch of players who go out on the pitch every single game, give their heart and their soul to play and represent the United States, which is the best country in the whole world, with pride. And I can say that it has been a pleasure to watch them, and I look forward to watching them in the round of 16. And then on the flip side, you see somebody like Suarez, who decides to bite people, and you cannot imagine, and I can't even imagine how Uruguayans are feeling right now. And I don't know if that's right, but whatever.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I can't even imagine how they feel right now that somebody who is going out there wearing their colors is acting like a complete fool. So I am glad the United States are playing well, representing us.
We're looking at you too, Pepe, with that headbutt.
Yeah, Pepe, you too, bitch. All right. But that's it. Thank you guys again so much for watching. This is the first time that we've ever done it on Frisian Sports. So, guys, give yourselves a round of applause. Oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, but yes, like I said, we'll be back here next Thursday, 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Pacific Time. You guys have any last words before I hit the end or stop broadcast button?
Enjoy your day. I hope the rest of your day is the best of your day.
For
yes.
sure.
Oh. Have a great week. Have a great rest of the week, and hopefully you have a blast of a weekend.
Yes, have a blast of a weekend. Watch all the games, guys. You know how much of a nerd I am. Last night around 12 o'clock at night, I got a really big inclination to watch the first 3 Star Wars movies, and I was like, man, I just need to go out and get those. So I went to Walmart and I bought them for $50, all of them. And I've watched.
Lying.
I am very serious.
Yeah,
And-
$50.
Yeah, and they were all of them, and they also included the Blu-ray copies because now I got PS4, y'all, so I can watch those. That's awesome as well. So that's what I was spending my day doing, and that's what I'm going to be doing after this podcast. So, yes, I am a geek. I know, a nerd. Call me what you will. But, yes. Okay, I'm
Just
going to
don't
have
call
the
him
podcast.
Shirley.
What was that? Como?
Just don't call him Shirley. Come on.
And
That
don't
makes-
drop that soap.
Yeah, don't drop the soap, homie.
And if you do, don't drop it in front of Dawkins. All right, 7510, and everyone else for Frisian Sports, I'm out.